Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Sylvester Inspires Belief Cast. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Veracity Networks, and my good friend, Drew Peterson. Thank you for believing in me and supporting this amazing cause. I'd like to also thank all the listeners. Thank you for tuning in week after week after week. It just keeps growing. And I want to thank you. And I also want to thank all the previous guests. They're amazing. I sit and I get to listen to these amazing people share what they've been through. And I mean, it's like therapy for me. And I'm just grateful for them. And, we've had some amazing people on, and today's going to be no different. I am so excited. Today we have Noelle Pikus Pace on today. So thanks for joining us, Noelle.
Thanks for having me, Todd. I appreciate it.
You betcha. Well, I think a lot of people do know you, but in case you don't know much about her, she's a two-time Olympian. In 2014, she was the Olympic silver medalist in the skeleton. She's a 26-time World Cup medalist, which that's impressive in itself. You're a mother of 4 children, which is probably one of your greatest accomplishments, right?
It is. It is.
You're an author. You're a motivational speaker. You've been you're a model. You help pitch products. You're a business owner. You have a course that you do called Life Stacking, which I want to know more about as well. You've done a TEDx talk. You've done several motivational speeches through corporations. You are just someone out there who's making a difference. And what's funny, when I was telling people, guess who's coming on my podcast today? I was telling family members and friends, and they're like, oh yeah, we know her. I'm like, man, everybody knows you. And so I'm just I feel honored and blessed that you're willing to take some time out of your very busy schedule to come share a portion of your story and your life with us today.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be with you. Honestly, I know you have made a difference in the lives of so many and the speakers that have been on before. So I'm just grateful to be a little piece in this big puzzle. So thank
Awesome.
you.
You betcha. Well, why don't we start? Give us a little background where you grew up and what was kind of like your childhood like?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in Orem, Utah. I am 8 kids. So I really had to fight to make my way in this world. I got shoved in my fair share of couches growing up. But honestly, I have great parents. And
Right.
So everything I am, I truly just attribute to them. They didn't have an easy life growing up. Neither of them did. They both came from very abusive families, especially on my dad's side.
Really? Okay.
Just not the best situations. And so both of them, my dad was married before, had 4 kids, and then that was an abusive situation there as well. And then they got divorced and he met my mom, and they ended up getting married, and they now have been married since 1975.
Oh, wow.
Married. Yeah, and they had us 4 kids. So I'm the youngest, but I still consider myself the youngest of 8. I love my half siblings just as much as my full. We just all call each other brother, sister. But
great.
I'm just grateful for them for seeing that they wanted to change. And that's easy. That's so much easier said than done.
Right.
But for them to commit together to make that decision they knew what they didn't want in their relationship. Yeah. And with their family. And so they knew what they wanted and they stuck to what they wanted. And they gave us, myself included, just a lot of opportunities to figure out what we wanted in life. And they to help us to achieve our dreams. So right. It was a great childhood. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, people who have seen your accomplishments, they've watched, your videos and things like that. They would go, man, this woman is confident. She knows what she wants. Have you always been like that? Like when you were a child, I mean, have you always been this confident girl?
No, I don't know. I mean, you see some kids that are just super confident all the time. And I still remember, and it's funny that you ask me this, because I literally had this conversation with my daughter last night. I'm just saying, okay, I remember there being a time in my life, I think I was in 9th grade, and I still wasn't confident. All through that time, there were certain things that maybe I was more confident, but when it came to being around my peers, you'd always see those that were more popular and like, oh, they said hi to me, you know, and you'd feel like your whole day revolved around that one single person. And I remember it came to this one camp that I went to over the summer, just for a week-long camp. And I remember having this kind of epiphany in my head, like this thought in my head that just said, I'm going to this camp and nobody knows who I am. Noelle, now is your chance to be whoever you want to become. Like, you can just be the person that you want to be.
Yeah.
And so I remember it like opened this door for me to be like, I can be anybody, really? I don't have to be the stereotype of who people think I am. I'm just going to try it because nobody knows who I am. So what's there to lose?
Right.
And I went to this camp. Yeah, I went to this camp for a week long, and I was loud, and I was talking to people, and I was willing to meet people, and I loved who I could become in that week. And I wanted to hold on to so many of those attributes. But I just remember having this big moment, this aha moment of, you can be whoever you want to be. It's never too late to be who you might have been. Like, it really is never too late to be that person. So yeah, it was a great.
That's a great, that's a great message. So speaking of that, when did you know that you wanted to, be an Olympian? I mean, did you know that really young, or did that come later in life, or?
I think it's about like how when you decided you wanted to have your own podcast, Todd. I think it's like similar, where it's like it just kind of grows, It's like, for me, I know some athletes have known since the time they were like 5, okay, I'm going to be an Olympian. But for me, it was really one of those things where one door opened and it opened into another and it opened into another. And finally I'm like, oh, so I ran track and field. I wanted to get a track and field scholarship in college. So I worked really hard to get a track scholarship. And along the way, there was this door that opened because I live in Utah. During the 2002 Winter Olympic Games, when they came, they were recruiting athletes. So right time, right place. And so they were recruiting track and field athletes. It just happened to kind of come down my path that I was already taking. And they said, how about you try bobsledding? And then after bobsledding, they said, how about you try skeleton? And then I stuck with it for 15 years. I stuck with it and I loved it.
Yeah. You've been an athlete for a long time. You did all kinds of sports, obviously, as a young girl, and then also in high school. How did playing sports play a part in just forming, the woman you are today? Even like how did it build you? How did it help you? How did it support you?
For sure. I can think of, a handful of ways that it shaped me into who I am today as a mom of 4 kids, as an individual, as I'm building my own company and striving to just learn and grow. I think one of the biggest ways, though, is teaching me how to face my fears, teaching me how to overcome doubts and worries and anxieties. I think really that's one of the biggest things sports taught me. And also, I think a big piece of that is realizing that being purpose driven, if you can define what your purpose is, whether it's in a sport or with, we have purposes all along our life, whether it's I'm going to the grocery store, to get food for dinner tonight. That's my why, but what's your purpose in life? And once I could figure out what that was, and it took a long time to figure that out, to be honest. And it's still, I feel like it's been pretty set for a while, but once I had that, it made my other decisions easy because I know who I want to become. I know where I want to be and who I want to be. So it made the other decisions easier.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. If we jump ahead a little bit here, because there's so much to talk about, you were the first American woman to ever win the overall World Cup title in the skeleton. I mean, that in itself is just mind blowing. I mean, is it weird to hear someone say that? It's still, or is that?
Sometimes, yeah, like I look at, as I'm cleaning up all the dishes and getting my 4 kids ready for bed, I'm like, did that really happen? Like, did I just dream that? Did that actually happen?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it is a little surreal sometimes to think about the accomplishments because, you can look back, but you've got to look ahead to where you want to go. So
yeah. And because of that, you were favored to win the gold medal in 2006. But then in 2005, you had an accident happen to you. Do you mind sharing with our listeners kind of that story and what happened? Because as hard as it is to hear the story, because it was a tough, scary accident, but how you kind of prevailed from that.
Yeah, sure. That was one of those like life-changing moments, one of those times when you realize you have a choice to make. You can either pick yourself back up or you can stay laying down and never move ahead, So what happened, maybe really quickly for some listeners that may not know, skeleton is a head first crazy winter Olympic sport where we sprint 40 meters and dive head first onto a little cookie sheet. It looks like a cookie sheet, like onto this little cookie sheet sled.
It does.
And then we go down an icy track. It's a bobsled and luge track. We all share the track, bobsled, luge, and skeleton. And we go down this icy track 90 miles an hour with our chin less than an inch off of the ice. So yes, it's an Olympic sport. It's crazy. It's fun. It's fast. We reach like 5 to 6 G's of pressure, and I just love it. So
that's amazing.
Everybody should try it. All you guys listening, you should all try it. Todd, you've got to get up there. You got to do it.
Maybe, I don't know.
So I rose to the top quickly after 3 short years. Like, this just doesn't happen, to be honest. I don't know if it's ever since then, but 3 years after I started the sport, I was ranked first in the world in skeleton and planning on going to the Olympics in 2006 in Torino, Italy. And I was so excited. I was so ready for this moment. When you're an Olympic athlete, everything goes into this one single moment of your life. Like everything. If you could just imagine, your finances, your time, your energy, your mental ability, like you're visualizing it constantly. You're preparing your equipment and the sacrifice, the time away from family. I was away from my husband for 5 to 6 months at a time, which that's not super great,
Right. That's a long time. Yeah.
That's a long time. Yes, it is. So going into these Olympic Games in 2006, even though I was ranked first in the world, I still had to try out for our Olympic team. And at our Olympic trials, I had just finished a practice run going down the track, and one by one, my teammates came down and were waiting at the bottom of this icy track for a truck to come and pick us up and go up to the top of the track. And as we were sitting there waiting for the truck to come, a 4-man bobsled weighing 1,500 pounds was sent down the track without us knowing. And the person in the back is called the brakeman, and this was their first time ever in a bobsled, and they didn't know they were supposed to pull the brakes to stop, to slow down. And so they crossed the finish line, and we didn't know they were coming until we saw them pass the finish line. We were waiting for another girl to come down turned and looked towards the finish line and saw this bobsled coming towards us. We jumped up to our feet to get out of the way of this bobsled, but it came so fast. I didn't have a chance to step out of the way. And right when I planted my right foot to jump out of the way of this oncoming 60 to 70 mile an hour, 1,500 pound bobsled, it hit me from behind. And it shattered, it shattered my leg, but it shattered my Olympic dream. I was, first in the world, and this was 3 months away from the Olympic Games, and it all just came to this massive halt. And for me, that was absolutely devastating. It was just, I don't know how to put it into words, the despair or the loss that I felt. As my teammates woke up that next morning. And here's the thing, you think that it's all great. You have this team around you, but to be honest, most of them were cheering that I got hurt, because now here comes this opening for an Olympic spot. So now guess what? One of them gets to go to the Olympics. And so it was a really, really, it was really tough. It was a really tough place to be in. And as I lay in my hospital bed after surgery, I just remember I had knee down to my ankle, some screws in the side. And I remember that's really when it hit me that my Olympic dream was gone. And right when I thought that, my doctor walked in with her clipboard, and she looked up from this clipboard and she could see these tears coming down my cheeks. And right when she saw these tears coming down, I just remember her looking up from her clipboard and looking at me and just saying, "Why are you crying?
Wow.
You have two choices. You can either look back and be upset and angry and frustrated at what just happened to you, or you can choose to move forward."
Wow.
your leg is broken and crying's not going to fix it. And when she said that, it took me aback, because I was like, oh my gosh, did she just say what I think she, I thought she was going to give me a hug. I thought she was going to come up and give me a hug, and here she just like laid it to me.
Wow.
And really that was what I needed. Like, I realized in that moment that I still had a choice to make. Like, even though I was at like my most miserable point, my leg, it was huge, and I had staples all up and down it. And, even at that point, they're like, well, this is, a lot of times when this injury happens with my bones were sticking out of my leg. And they said, a lot of times when that happens, you're going to have an amputation. So you have to just prepare that might be a possibility for the future. Luckily that everything went well and I didn't have to have that happen. But in the moment, I was thinking the worst. Like, I was just thinking the worst. My Olympic dream is gone. I might lose my leg. Like, I'm stuck here, just all these things. And when she said that, I realized, even at my darkest point, I still had a choice to make. Like, it was still up to me to choose what to believe, like what path to follow. What did I want to hold on to as reality? And what did I want to let go of that was dragging me down? And so that's what I chose to hold on to, was just the belief and to hope for a better future.
What a gift. It was a nurse, right?
She was my orthopedic surgeon. She was the surgeon.
So what a gift that not only did the surgeon fix your leg, but the surgeon gave you a much better gift than even that.
Yeah,
that in your face, laying it to you, like you said, and saying, you got two choices here. What are you going to do? I mean,
absolutely.
And he, knowing that your background, I mean, she probably felt you were tough enough to handle it, right?
Apparently either make me or break me, man.
Yeah. Well, so think about, because one of my questions, and I think you kind of answered it, but my question was, did you resent that bobsled crew that hit you? Did you resent that they, didn't pull on the brakes? I mean, did you go through any of that in the beginning?
It's hard to, because I can say what I think I remember feeling. Because what I remember feeling, honestly, didn't have to do with them.
Okay.
And maybe I'm wrong in remembering back that like that. I'd have maybe I wrote it in my journal, but I really don't remember resenting them.
Okay.
I remember, and to be honest, my angriest moments, yes, I was angry. Yes, I was devastated. I was so depressed. But it wasn't right then, because right then when I realized I had a choice, it was either to give up or to continue to fight for this Olympic dream. And to me, it wasn't until I watched my teammates compete in those Olympic Games. So it was about 3 months later that was when the trials, I mean, like, I knew what I had to do to physically get better, but the hardest part was the mental, the spiritual, the unseen, the mental and spiritual side of things.
Sure.
Was the unseen aspects that nobody else could see within me. I could put a smile on my face, and I tried to as much as possible. I tried to stay as optimistic as possible, but it was those things that you couldn't see that really hit hard once it came to an end at the Olympic game, when I knew there was no chance of me making those games, and I saw my teammates compete for those medals. That was when it was just devastating for those next months after it. And it took months, like it really did. And it's that saying, time heals the heart, and so does service, and so does gratitude, and there's a handful of things that I feel were beneficial to me in my life that helped me to see past me and my problems.
Wow. How did your faith, in your, higher power and God help you through this at this time as well? Was that a something you leaned on?
Oh, for sure. Believing, my faith is, I have faith that God knows who I am, and that he will never give me something. And I know oftentimes we hear people say this, but I don't believe he'll ever give us things that we are incapable of handling, because through him, with his strength, I believe I can do all things. I truly do. Wow. But a lot of times we forget. And we think we have to do this on our own. And I have stories about when I've tried to do that as well. And I'm not sure if you were going to bring up miscarriages or not, but I've had multiple miscarriages, and that's one of those times when I tried to do it on my own, and it just didn't work out. So
yeah, and I do want to get into that. I'm glad you brought that up, but I want you to share one other disappointment. I mean, I know you've been through a lot, but back in 2010, the Winter Olympics, a sled you were using. I know. Because I love how you handled it. I mean, you're riding on a sled that your husband built, right? And I think you missed fourth place. Is that right? Or third place by 1/10 of a second?
So glad you reminded me, Todd. Now I can see it clearly. Yes, a 10th of a second. I missed an Olympic medal by a 10th of a second. Like you guys can't, like you'd have to blink 10 times in a second, 10 times in 1 second to know how close it was to that next Olympic medal. I missed it by 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, and you know that puts it in perspective. You can't even blink that many times. It's crazy. But
even blink.
There was a reason you figured out later why you lost that 10th of a second.
So I went back to watch video because I seriously, you guys, like if I wish I could just like take you along in this, like, you know, put it in hyper speed to see what goes into becoming an Olympian, because you'd see all the training, waking up, training, working out, doing your equipment, going down the track, like doing all this different stuff that goes into it. So when I went to the Olympics in 2010 and I felt like I had everything that I needed to make it to that Olympic podium, everything in place. I had an amazing sled. I had amazing equipment. I had my family, my husband, and I'd had a daughter in between my bobsled accident and the 2010 games. But I was finally an Olympian, you guys. Like I had finally made it there after the struggle, after missing out in 2006. And so I was so excited, and I felt like mentally I was ready to compete. And then I crossed that finish line after 4 runs down the track. And after that fourth run, and I saw a number 4 next to my name. A number 4. Fourth place in the Olympics is the worst place you ever want to finish. And when I went back and watched video months later, to be honest, I was so frustrated that I finished 4th that I didn't even have the courage to watch my run again until months had passed. Like I just didn't even want to bring up that horrible day. And I couldn't watch it till months later. And when I went back and watched that video, I noticed something very, very small, super, super small, that tiny little detail. I had tied my shoes and yes, we should tie our shoes. I tied my shoes, the little loopy part, the little bow, that the rabbit goes around the tree part. The little bows were dragging on the ice. My shoelaces were dragging the entire way down the mile-long track. And when you add that together over 4 runs, and this sport as well as I do, and how aerodynamically sound everything is, you will know that is right there a 10th of a second at least. And so just to know, like, to know you missed an Olympic medal by something so small, something so simple. It was, I don't know if that was a good day or just the worst day ever to find that out. But I think the lesson though that I've learned from that, and I've loved this quote, and I use it daily. I use it all the time with my kids. And it's, by small and simple things are great things brought to pass. And just knowing that it's those teeny tiny little details that we do in our lives, whether it's those tiny habits for good or for bad every single day, or, it's those small little things, it brings about greatness, whether it's for the better or for the worse. Those little things we're doing make the biggest difference.
Wow. I mean, that had to have been tough to notice that when you went back to watch, like, that's the reason.
So hard.
Wow. And again, you've been through a lot, and I didn't mean to jump ahead of, you had to rehab your leg and all that other stuff. I didn't want to just forget all that, but there's so much I want to talk about. But you've been, what I'm trying to paint here for our listeners is you've had such huge success, but you've also had some big setbacks in your life. And kind of back to your surgeon who told you got 2 choices. And I would imagine, did that also help you moving forward with these other things that you were dealing with?
Oh, absolutely. I firmly have has the ability to stack on top of each other, to prepare us for the next thing ahead, or to give us, whether it's knowledge or wisdom or insight, or to help us to grow in one way or another, if we're willing to allow it to do so. If we're willing to say, what can I learn from this experience? And it could be, this is the worst experience of my life. I just got hit by a bob, so I'm just going to leave it in the past. Or we can say, all right, what can I take from this that can help me to become better today and in the future? And that could be for successes, that can be for failures. Any experience we have can be stacked and built upon each other so that we can face our fears and face the next experiences to come with courage and with kindness and with hope and with all things good.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say in 2014, you did get your silver medal, which is awesome.
Woohoo! Oh, round of
Yes.
applause. Yay.
But again, it's proof of that you just kept working and prevailing. And even though you had setbacks along the way, you didn't give up. And I think that in itself is a huge message for not only for me, but for anyone listening to this right now.
Yeah, you just never know what's around the next corner, unless you put forth your best effort. And to be honest, one of the biggest differences between 2010 and 2014 was having a strong purpose.
Okay.
For myself in 2010, going into those Olympic Games, after missing the 2006 Olympics from that broken leg, I remember going into 2010 with very to this is for me. I want to prove myself. It's me, I. And when I finished fourth, it was kind of like, all right, well, I finished fourth. Like I did that, shoot.
Right.
And then going into 2014, so a little bit of a detail right between that point, we had our daughter before 2010, and then we had our son between 2010 and 2014. And I retired after 2010 because I was so burnt out.
Right.
You guys, I was miserable. To be honest, like you might not see it. Like if you go back and watch like a 2010 Olympic run, skeleton athlete, Noelle Pikus Pace, it won't look like I was miserable. I have a smile on my face. I was super, like, I was like, oh man, I missed it. Dang it. Shoot. I'm done. I was done. Like I retired
Right.
that day. I was so done with being away from my husband and from my
Yeah.
daughter and missing out on, I missed my daughter's first steps. I missed her first birthday. I missed her first words.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
so completely out of balance. Like whenever I was training, whenever I was like at work, I was always thinking that I should be doing all these things for home. And whenever I was at home, I felt like I should be doing all these things for skeleton. I'm not a fan of those shoulds that we always put on ourselves, first of all, but
right.
I just felt like I was never where I needed to be, and I was miserable. And going into 2014, I'm sorry, I am a chatty Cathy. If you have not caught that, Todd.
No, this is beautiful. I like people who are chatty. You're good.
Okay, I'm super chatty. But going into 2014, I actually retired, and this might bring up one of those stories, but I retired after 2010 because I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to be a mom full time. Like I just wanted to close the that competitiveness of my life. Not, I'm still competitive, but I just didn't want it to that extent. I wanted to focus on kids. And after we had our son, I had our first miscarriage. And I'll come back to that in a second. But
I do want to talk about that.
Yeah, that was life-changing. That was one of those experiences that was it was devastating, like extremely devastating to say the least. And I didn't know where to turn, and I didn't know what to do. And my husband could hurt him. I just didn't even know where to go. And he came up to me, and I remember him saying, what if you could go back to compete for the Olympics one last time? But what if we could do it as a family? What if I could come with you and pay, and we could have Lacey and Trayson, they could come with us as well. We could travel together and you could compete. And that was awesome. That was like picture perfect. And now this purpose was developed where it's like, we're doing this because we want to be a family together and see how great we could be together as a family. So now when I crossed that finish line in 2014, I couldn't get off my sled fast enough after 2 years of traveling the world with our two kids and my husband by my side. I couldn't get off my sled fast enough. And the volunteers were like, you need to go be interviewed, go get to the microphones and the cameras. And I said, no, I need to be up there in the stands with my family. And I jumped up into the stands and embraced them. And all I could shout was, we did it. We did it. Yeah. And it just is a testament how purpose can drive us to do amazing things, come what may, whatever hard times we go through. If we have a strong enough purpose, it'll hold us through.
And not only that, is just having that connection there that people you love the most, they're right there versus, they're on the other side of the world and you feel so far away from them. I bet that helped a ton too. Just knowing that connection, that your family was right there rooting you on, and you got to run up in the stands and embrace them. I bet that was just amazing.
It was so fun. It was so cool. I honestly remember that moment more vividly than opening ceremonies, closing
Sure.
ceremonies, than the medal around my neck. It was just being able to embrace them and to just say, this was all worth it. Like, we made it after all this hard times and trials and goodness and joy. We finally made it. So whole journey.
Yeah, that whole thing, everything you've been through, man, that is so amazing. Well, why don't we, talk about something obviously a little more personal. You had a miscarriage, and it's, I know this is a very personal thing to talk about, but share your thoughts on what happened, and then what you went through.
So I actually, it's sometimes it's a good thing to be a 1 in a million, until a doctor walks in the room and then they're like, oh, you're 1 in a million. And you're like, oh, this can't be good,
Yeah.
So the first time, I've actually had 3 late miscarriages.
Sorry.
So the first time it happened was in 2012. And we had already had two healthy, just like problem-free pregnancies. And this third one was the little girl. And the first miscarriage was this little girl that we already picked out names and everything. And we're excited. And I was 18 weeks pregnant, and her little heart just stopped beating. And for that time, for the first one, it devastated me more than, to be honest, the only thing at that point in my life that I could compare it to was missing out on the Olympic Games. It was just like this void and this just such a deep sadness. Like, I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I didn't want to, I couldn't take care of my 2 kids for a while. Like, it was just so hard because I was so trapped inside of this, sadness and despair. And, luckily I have an amazing husband that kind of helped me to see past that. And that's when we went on for the next Olympic Games, because I couldn't see myself getting pregnant again so soon. I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
And he knew I needed a distraction. So then after the Olympic Games, I was pregnant again, and this time with a little boy, and his heart. So after the first miscarriage, they couldn't find anything wrong. They couldn't figure it out. And after the second miscarriage, it was a little boy at 17 weeks. We went into the doctor's office, and I remember being just so angry. I was just mad. I was just like, how can this happen? How could it happen again? We did all the tests and they couldn't find anything wrong. And they said, you're 1 in a million. We just can't figure it out. But then the doctor said something that just broke my heart. He said, you have to expect that if you ever even have the courage to get pregnant again, you have to expect that your baby's heart will stop beating between 16 and 18 weeks. We don't know why, but you're 1 in 100. There's about 100 people that have ever had this happen to them. And we can't figure out why, but you have to expect that it's going to end in tragedy. So just stop where you're at. Don't try having kids anymore, because you're better off that way. And I remember leaving that, just being heartbroken, just crying. I was just bawling.
Yeah.
And my husband had so sad because we wanted more kids, and for a doctor to say we can't. But I decided I wanted to try again, to have another one. And so going into that one, so the difference, the second one, I went into it almost expecting the baby's heart to stop. Not just almost expecting, I expected it to stop. Even in that second one, I bought a Doppler, like listening to the baby's heart every single day. And it was very nerve-wracking. And I was like, you know what, if it fails, I'm just expecting it to not work. I'm just expecting that this isn't going to work. That was me going into that second miscarriage. And I was miserable when it didn't work. I was still just so sad and devastated.
Right.
And when you talk about we talk about our faith or belief in God or a supreme being of some sort, I went into my third one realizing that I realized what hope was to me. And for me, hope is putting my trust in God that come what may, I need him. And that means that I need him through hard times. If this doesn't work out, I need to be able to turn to him. And if it does work out, I need to be there with a heart full of gratitude. But either way, I'm going to be hopeful that this is going to work out in a way that God can shape me into the person that I need to become.
Yeah. And
going through that third miscarriage at 18 weeks, a little girl, I was still heartbroken. I was still, but I felt I felt at peace so much more. And I know that comes into more of that faith that we've talked about. But for me, I am a firm believer of faith and of God. But here's a blessing on the other side. We ended up getting twin little boys here. So I got pregnant again. And despite doctors saying to expect that their hearts will stop, we ended up being blessed with 2 little boys. So now we have our 4 kids, and the boys are 5 years old now. So little blessings, big blessings, big blessings.
Well, again, tough things to go through, and again, having that faith to try it again, and then obviously you got the reward of these 2 twins. It's interesting. It kind of mirrors what you went through with the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know, it's like setback, and then the reward, setback, reward, you know, and wow, thanks for sharing that. I know that's probably not easy to talk about even today. Speaking of that, there's a lot of people listening to you right now that probably on some level feel hopeless, or they know someone who's, they have a family member who feels like they're lost, struggling. What's something that you could say to them right now? You said a lot of amazing things already, and I know this is a tough question sometimes, but what's something you could share with them right now that might, spark a little bit of hope in them?
Honestly, the one really helpful thing for me, as I was going through each of these situations, was to look for ways to be grateful, to search for gratitude in your life, to see all the things that give you light and bring you up and build you up, whether it's people, whether it's things, whether it's nature, whatever that might be, and start just making lists and help other people, or ask other people also to help you see the goodness around you. I know that it's hard to do. I've been there,
Right.
like when it's just the world is just like coming to an end and it's hard to see any light. So at first, to be honest, I needed other people to help me see what there was to be grateful for. And that's okay too. If that's where it needs to start, with those around you, just constantly keeping it positive, keeping it hopeful, keeping it light, and looking ahead to a brighter future. And the second thing, one other thing that I would recommend is look for something to be hopeful about, whether that means a new talent, a new skill, a new adventure, a new path, whatever that might be, something that can maybe change the direction that you're on if you're feeling hopeless, that can move you ahead to a better and brighter future, because it's there and it's waiting for you. But sometimes we can't always see it. So we need someone to shine that flashlight our way and say, hey, what do you think about doing this? What do you think about going here? What do you think about this? Look at this, look at all these beautiful things around you. For me, it was, going back to the Olympics, was taking my mind off of the trial, the tragedy in that first instance. But it's not always that easy. So it's really just kind of testing the waters, but always looking for the light, always look for things to be hopeful about.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. Thank you, Noelle. Thank you. That was awesome. Going back to what you said even earlier about having a purpose as well, like knowing where you're headed and why. What's the whole reason why you're doing this or that, right? And I think a lot of times people, this has been a tough year for a lot of people, because of COVID and the pandemic and all of the stuff that we're dealing with as just as a world, but just it kind of magnifies what we're maybe going through as an individual. But I love that, looking for the light, and there's light always there, right? If you just take a look.
Absolutely. It's always there.
That's beautiful. Well, God, there's so much we can talk about, but I know you do a lot of motivational speaking, a lot of speaking events with corporations and businesses, and obviously firesides, and I mean the list goes on and on and on. What would you say is maybe the common theme that you hear from people that maybe they struggle with the most, going through all this?
One of the things that I've heard a lot recently is just how to overcome fear. I think there's a lot of fear and anxiety going on around us. So being able to face your fears, and that sounds, a lot of people are like, oh, just face your fears, but it's more than that. It's the first part is just being aware that you have them, becoming aware and recognizing where your fears are, and are they even warranted? Because as I've done this, I like to write down anytime I'm feeling stressed or like overwhelmed or fearful or anxiety or whatever you want to call it, all these things that weigh us down. all of us feel that, all of us, no matter
Yeah.
what state, no matter how happy you think somebody is, however, we always tend to see people as having this better life than
Right.
what we might imagine, but everybody has these worries and
Yeah.
stresses and anxieties and fears that we don't even know about. But the best thing to do is become aware about them. And for me, what I do is I like to write them all down. So whenever I'm feeling like this tightness in my chest and just like, I'm just super stressed, I just need to figure out where to start. I don't even know where to begin. And for me, it just starts with making a big old list on a notebook, like just page after page, however many pages it needs to be.
Yeah.
And then once I've written them all down, I go back and start with the first thing that I wrote down and start trying to find ways to conquer those fears, try to find solutions for those fears, try to figure out why, if it's even warranted, like, why am I feeling stressed about this? And then kind of just prioritizing it, narrowing it down and figuring out where I can begin. And that seems to help me to be able to move ahead and also to be more hopeful. It's like, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was. I got some of this off my chest, I got to write it down on a piece of paper. Life is going to be okay. It's going to move on. And obviously, like, maybe you can hear, and I know you've smiled through this too, Todd. Like just even putting a smile on, even like that saying, like, fake it till you make it. Don't put on a facade. You need to be able to share your feelings with people. People have to know how you're truly feeling. But if there are times when you can just be like, you know what? I'm just going to see the best in this situation. I'm going to laugh instead of cry. I'm just going to make it work. I'm just going to, get my way through this. And sometimes that's the best solution. Sometimes, So,
I love that. No, that's great advice. And I love how you write things out and you basically are taking action. You're doing something about it. And that's kind of been your whole message to everything today that we've even talked about, that you were hit with all these things, but you took action. And again, I go back to your surgeon who said, you got two choices here. What are you going to do? You're going to shut down or are you going to do something about it? And it's interesting how obviously she understood that you could probably handle that tough love right there in that moment. But boy, that's a theme through your whole life.
Yeah, take action. If I remember probably the first time I remember thinking that, like, I need to take action was when I was about 4 or 5. This is one of my first memories that I can ever recollect having.
Yeah.
I remember going skiing with my family, snow skiing. Oh, big surprise there, right? Being in the snow, being in the winter.
Right.
I remember snow skiing with my family, and it was one of the last runs of the day. So I was really, really tired. And I think my dad had just said, just go down this little hill and I'm going to go up with your brothers and sisters. Mom's down at the cabin down at the lodge down at the bottom.
Yeah.
So just down to her, she's down there. And I remember going down the mountain and I crashed and I fell and nobody was around me. My dad wasn't anywhere in sight.
Right.
My mom was all the way down at the lodge. And I remember having this thought, if you don't get yourself up and go down this hill, nobody's going to do it for you.
Wow.
I just remember thinking this, like, if I don't get up and take action right now, I'm going to be stuck here forever. And I've thought about that throughout my life. If I don't do something now, I will be stuck here forever. I have to take action. And so I think it was from a young age, just figuring out, like, wow, it's either now or never. It's just going to be now, or I'm just going to procrastinate and put it off, but it still has to get done.
Wow. But yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So again, beautifully said. Thank you for sharing that. I know you do a lot. You got a lot going on in your life, obviously being a mom and a wife, and just family alone keeps you busy, but you're obviously still doing, you do a lot of speaking events and things like that. What's coming up? What's on the horizon for you? What's something we could share with our listeners that they can look forward to seeing you doing?
Awesome. Yeah. I am so excited. From doing speeches. I've always loved doing speeches, but I've always wondered, am I ever helping anybody? Like, am I really ever walking off that stage and somebody's going to do something different in their life? Or am I just like motivating for the minute? Are they like, oh, that was, now go home to your daily life.
Right.
And I've been wanting to do something so much more. And so this past year, because of the pandemic, honestly, it's given me the time and the courage to be able to do something I haven't done before. So I created a 12-week course called Life Stacking.
Yeah.
And what this course is it helps people live on purpose. It helps them live their life by design rather than by default. And it starts with mindset. So it takes you through 12 weeks and 12 Olympic steps. Like, it's from mindset to overcoming fears to learning what success is and how to define that in your life, and talking about relationships and those relationships around you and how important they are. So I'm excited about it. It helps people live on purpose, and you can find it at noellepikusppace.com. But you're awesome. Thanks for asking, Todd.
No, you bet. Well, that was going to be my next question is, if someone wants to learn more about you and find out about these courses and, the next speaking event, or just to get to know you better, and maybe even more important, ask you a question, what would be the best way for them to do that? Is that your website or?
Yeah, that would be great. And I'd love to hear from you guys and hear whatever questions you have. NoellePikusPace.com is the best place. And just go to contact, and also my courses up on there. It actually launched this week. So I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And I just hope it changes lives. I hope it helps transform people from, it's actually called Life Stacking, Shift from Good to Great. I just hope people can know how great they are. And I want to help them. I want to help everybody reach their full potential.
Wow. I love that. Well, I just want you to know how grateful I am for you, because you talk about that light, right? We need to see light. You are a light, and so many people look up to you. And I know you've helped so many people. You've helped me. I mean, I've known you. I think you actually spoke in my, at my church, probably, I think it's been 12 years, maybe 15 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
And so I really mean this with all my heart. You really are a light to me and to this world. And you're very charismatic, you're energetic, you're passionate. And we need more of that, especially now more than ever in this world. And so thank you for just being you and wanting to make a difference. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Todd. And I would say the same to you as well. You're changing lives every day. And I just appreciate the light that you're sharing as well. So thank you. And thank you all for listening. You guys are awesome. I wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you. Well, there you go, guys. I told you, another amazing story. Noelle Pikus Pace, please reach out to her. She's an open book. She'll do her best to answer your questions. And she's given some amazing advice. And more importantly, she's been through so much, and she's living proof that if we'll make that decision to move forward and take action, that we can get past these setbacks. And so if you are hopeless right now, take her advice, please. And we love you. We want the best for you. And I can't thank you enough, listeners, for taking the time. And again, Noelle, you're awesome. And I can't wait for our listeners to hear your whole story. And thank you for taking the time today with us.
Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.